Okay, I think we are live and I'll go even Insta live at the same time because I just want to tell some people who are very lazy to keep following up my posts and stuff like that. So I generally do it at the same time. Okay. So we are good to go?
Yes.
Okay, so let me give you a brief introduction about you to everyone and myself also, just in case there are some people who don't know me. I'm sure there are many don't know me, but आपके जो followers हैं उनके लिए specifically. So hi everyone, I'm Rachna Daryani. I'm a counselor, clinical hypnotherapist, and a soft skills trainer. I generally help Indian kids about 16, 18 with free counseling whenever they cannot afford mental health facilities or they are troubled. That's what I do. Try to help as best as I can. Please note, I don't take any cases with suicidal tendencies. Why? Because I'm not trained for that. But having said that, बाकी जो भी रोजमर्रा की प्रॉब्लम्स हैं पढ़ाई को लेके मोस्टली रिलेशनशिप इश्यूज बहुत होते हैं तो उसके लिए मैं मदद करती हूँ. So today's podcast, I know I have been out of I guess YouTube and Insta for almost 3 or 4 weeks. Pehle to I was not well. Second, there is a personal reason which I will not discuss. So that affected my mindset a lot. तुम लोग को लगता होगा रे काउंसलर है उनको तो क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी बट हम सबको प्रॉब्लम होती है और कुछ लोग जो हमारे लाइफ में होते हैं वो हमें इम्पैक्ट करते हैं. तो वैसे मेरे लाइफ में कुछ लोगों को मैम यू आर नॉट विजिबल. अरे इतना विजिबिलिटी है राहुल तुम हमेशा वही लिखते हो मेरे बात करते टाइम बीच में मत बोला करो मेरा फ्लो टूट जाता है. तो ओके सो देन आई वाज जस्ट टेलिंग यू कि मेरे फैमिली में कोई इश्यूज चल रही थी तो उसके वजह से आई कुडंट कम लाइव ऑन इंस्टा एंड यूट्यूब बट आई एम ट्राइंग टू गो अबाउट माय डे एंड माय लाइफ एंड गुड टू बी हियर. सो टुडे वी हैव समवन वेरी वेरी स्पेशल. This is our first podcast related to climate. I have generally done neurologists, doctors, सॉफ्ट स्किल्स ट्रेनर्स, हमने इंटरव्यू स्किल्स किए, हमने बहुत कुछ किया है. आई थिंक फिटनेस पे किया है, लाइफ सपोर्ट जब हम बात कर रहे थे लाइफ सेविंग स्किल्स पे कि कैसे रिससिटेट करते हैं, हाइब्रिक मनोवर क्या होता है, हमने ये सब किया रहे. तो ये हमारे बॉडी के लिए माइंड के लिए. पर हमने कभी मेरे चैनल पे मैंने आई डोंट थिंक मैंने अपने प्लैनेट के लिए हमारे अर्थ के लिए कुछ स्पेसिफिक किया है. एंड दैट्स व्हाट when I saw Ajay's profile, I said, okay, I hope he replies to me, which he did. He was very kind enough to reply. बहुत कम लोग ऐसा करते हैं जो रिप्लाई करते हैं. नहीं कर सकते वो भी अच्छा होगा अगर से लोग मुझे बोले करके सॉरी वी कांट डू द पॉडकास्ट. पर कुछ लोग बहुत प्रॉम्प्ट होते हैं, उनमें से अजय के हैं. एंड आई एम वेरी वेरी ब्लेस्ड एंड फॉर्चुनेट कि ही अग्रीड टू मेक टाइम फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस बिकॉज हम जिस धरती पे रहते हैं उसके बारे में हम नहीं केयर करेंगे और सिर्फ हमारे बारे में. So not only our lives, but our future generations also get affected. So let me introduce today's guest. Ajay is a youth leader and a climate activist. In his current role, he works as a director, climate change programs, India and South Asia for Earth Day org. He is a member of the World Economic Forum, India's Stakeholder Council and Global Shapers Community. He's also on board of several city-based NGOs that include ACTS, Hive India, Y East, MCKS, Caring Hearts, to name a few. He's passionate about scaling social solutions using technology, innovations, and simplicity. Thank you, Ajay, for making time for us.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be part of this. And yes, you have a wide audience. And for me, my mission is to talk to people and discuss about this topic. So glad to have this platform and speak to the people who may be listening and tuning in to this podcast.
Thank you so much. So let's begin कि हमेशा से तो आप एक्टिविस्ट नहीं रहे होंगे, right? कहीं ना कहीं शुरुआत हुई होगी आपकी. So where did it all start? How did you get into this? Were you also as a child so dedicated towards what you're doing right now? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, so as a child, I had no inclination towards this nature or any kind of social work activities. I was pretty much a lost kid. But at some point of time, I was very passionate and very sure that I would be joining the Indian Armed Forces. And that's how I was studying in Army school for a couple of years. But that time, certain thing I understood that maybe this is not something I want to do. And that's when I felt lost, because I was very sure this is what I want to do. And then I didn't even know about other career options and everything. So that was a very big kind of this thing lost phase in my life. And then I just ended up enrolling myself in a computers course in bachelor's in computer application. Till then also I didn't have any idea what I want to do. And then I joined a few organizations, volunteer organizations, and I was working for people who are working, living on streets of Kolkata. And I met this gentleman called Nitai Das Mukherjee. Yeah, for the last 30 years, he has been rescuing people who are abandoned, missing, people who are victims of any form of abuse on streets of Kolkata. He works with the Kolkata police, rescues them, gets them treated. So this is something which really connected with me. I started volunteering with him. Then I started joining other organizations, built a few organizations together, working on voluntary blood donation, working on other causes relevant to the city. So what I realized is definitely one thing I was sensitive about is human suffering. And I wanted to do something about it. At the same time, I was running my business, and I would work, almost divide my time and do this voluntary work and this thing. All of this was happening in 2017. I started a campaign which was on air pollution, because of the city's air pollution levels in Kolkata was extremely bad. And I came across a report which said that air pollution actually kills more people than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. And it was shocking to me. And I thought, since I'm working on health and how someone suffering from health, people who do not have enough resources, people cannot get their family members treated, is something which affects me very deeply. And so I thought, why not work on a preventive technique for health? If air pollution can be improved, it can help so many people with better quality of life. That's how my passion for health actually led me to start this campaign. That is when I started learning more about environmental issues. And in 2019, I was attending a conference in Brisbane where Professor Al Gore was speaking, and he shared an entire presentation on climate crisis. And that's when I decided at that moment that going back to Kolkata, I will have to work full time on this issue for the rest of my life, because that is how serious this is. And so, yes, that's my journey, how I started doing what I'm doing. And that was June 2019. And in September, I joined this organization, Ajays.org, where I currently associate myself as a professional. Rest, everything else I do is going voluntary.
Okay, so two things stood out. First was when आपने कहा कि you were lost, you didn't know आपको क्या करना है life में. और हमारे पास जितने बच्चे मेरे पास आते हैं, उनमें से almost half of them are constantly worried. What are we going to do with our lives? What career are we going to follow? And see, this is what I want to point out to all of you. Ki wo jo, not necessarily we are all sorted and we always know what we want to do. Sometimes the way your life just takes you through life and you meet different people or you experience experiences, and फिर आपको कहीं ना कहीं वो hit होता है कि okay, I am cut out for this, correct? So this is how you found out कि okay, this seems to be कि बहुत लोगों का, of course you're doing something that you love, right? The other thing is many people might love doing something, like let's say you're doing something, they would want to do it, but not necessarily that it will pay you so well. So kahin na kahin, do you have to, just a question, because this will also help people understand, is there, if they would be interested in doing what you're doing, can it be made as a career choice also, which can give you enough income? Can that happen?
Absolutely. So one thing is when you pick something, you also drop something, is what I believe. So if you're picking a very different career path, you may have to trade off certain other aspects of your life, definitely, because it will involve that much time, that much effort. Regarding the professional this thing and how much rewarded you are in terms of financial returns. Obviously, if I'm doing a business which I was doing earlier, I would be earning a few times more than what I'm doing right now. But I know some people who earn a lot of money, but they don't like what they do, and they work their entire week and then they say that I unwind myself in the weekend, and they spend a lot of money to enjoy the weekends. I don't think it is anything wrong. So that is where the trade-off comes in. All of us have limited amount of time available. How you want to spend most of your time is up to you. So for me, because I enjoy the work I do, I don't need to spend a lot of my time in the weekends separately to buy happiness for myself. I really enjoy, I feel more comfortable within myself for what I am doing. So there is two options. Either you find something that you love, or you do whatever you do, start loving that. I think that is the condition.
Yeah, so वो जो कहावत है, कभी किसी को जहां मुकम्मल नहीं मिलता, कभी आसमान तो जमीन नहीं मिलता. So you have to mix it up. And many a times, जैसे मुझे लगता है, जैसे suppose somebody wants to have a career, not in what they love per se, but sometimes for money, if you have a financial situation where you really need to, आप वो भी कर सकते हो. पर ये जो काम आप कर रहे हो, मेरे हिसाब से अगर से आप फुल टाइम भी नहीं कर सकते, आप अपने प्लैनेट को कुछ टाइम और कुछ चीजें तो दे ही सकते हैं. मे बी आपका करियर ना बने, बट आप कोई चेंजेस आपके लाइफ में, आपके ऑफिस में, आपके घर में, इवन टू अराउंड योर whatever your workplace, whatever little bit that you can contribute, that also would be really great for our country and for the planet. So उस बात से मुझे याद आया कि कितना हम सुनते हैं, राइट? क्लाइमेट, ग्रीन हाउस, ओजोन, पता नहीं क्या क्या नहीं सुनते हैं. ठीक है, किसी को कुछ खास पता नहीं होता, सबको लगता है करके यार हमारा प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी है, हमको क्या करना है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. सो लेट्स go down and demystify all these so called terms that we hear in sometimes papers में आता है कि this has happened. आपने जैसे अभी कहा कि कैल में इतना पोल्यूशन है, वैसे तो पोल्यूशन हर जगह है, दिल्ली में देखो, बॉम्बे में देखो, पर कोई कुछ करना नहीं चाहता उसका. चाहे वो नॉइज पोल्यूशन हो, चाहे वो तुम्हारी गाड़ी को क्लीन करना हो, या तुम स्मोक कर रहे हो, व्हाटएवर. सो हेल्प अस टू अंडरस्टैंड what is exactly that you do when you say you work with these companies. What is this climate change that we are seeing, and what exactly is the difference between, let's say, climate, weather, and give us your advice on what are these terms, and what do you think that in our daily lives that we can do.
Yeah, so like one of the things which happens is that because I was not from this domain, I've never studied environmental science or any of these subjects. So a lot of people may think that this is very complicated and this thing, but trust me, it's very simple. All of us, whatever we have learned in our school was exactly all we need to know about climate and environment and greenhouse gas and all of those things. There's a basic science which is working here. Is we know that when we are taking our breath, we inhale air, we take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. And we know there are certain properties of carbon dioxide, there are certain properties of methane and water vapor. All of these three are called greenhouse gases, have potential for greenhouse effect. And we have studied in school the greenhouse effect, where we know how when the sun rays are falling on the Earth's surface, it is getting reflected, and because of the presence of some of these gases, carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, and other also, some of this heat is trapped back into the Earth's atmosphere. Otherwise, 100% of it may be reflected back. Again, if that was happening, our Earth will be so cold that there will be no life existing on it, right? So carbon dioxide is not something which is it's not required, this thing. Definitely it's required, but because of our way of production and consumption, especially since the industrial revolution, we started using a lot of fossil fuel, which is all your oil, petrol, coal, everything. You're sitting in a room, your lights are on. Somewhere a coal thermal plant is burning coal and CO2 is being released in the atmosphere. Now, this activity was happening at such a scale that the amount of CO2 concentration kept on increasing very rapidly. जितना concentration होना चाहिए उससे बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया. And because of this increase in CO2 concentration, the amount of heat that is getting trapped is very high, and that's what we call global warming. Now, when this heat is getting trapped and the temperature, average temperature of the earth is increasing rapidly, the ice is melting. When the ice is melting, where is all the water going? The water is going to all our sea and everything. That's when we call sea level rise. When sea level rising, we know coastal communities will be more affected because of this, right? So then for consumption, it's not just we require energy, we are also making stuff. So for that, we need materials. We are extracting materials from this. When we are going to extract material, we are deforesting lands to harvest material. We are growing our own food, or we are cutting down forests to make agricultural fields, right? So all of these things, we are consuming a lot of water to make all of these materials, right? One of the things you need to understand is that the size of the planet is fixed. The amount of land area is fixed. The amount of water is fixed. Everything is fixed. But this human greed for wanting for more things is not fixed. Right? At current capacity, we are consuming 60% more Earth's resources than what we should be. One of my mentor and professor, he says that if you have a budget of say 10,000 rupees as a monthly salary, you can't spend 20,000 rupees. If you will need that to steal, borrow, or beg, right? So as human beings, we are doing the same things. When we are extracting these extra resources from Earth's resources, we are either stealing it from our future generations, or we are borrowing this from the future generations, right? So all of us are either stealing it or we are borrowing it from our future generations. But we have no plan to restore it back? All the water that we extract from the groundwater, are we restoring it back, right? So this is where the whole problem is, that we are consuming more than what we require. And that is resulting in this whole phenomena called climate change, because the temperature is rising at an abrupt rate. So जैसे हमारे शरीर को बुखार हो जाता है ना, between 99 degrees and 1 degree difference, but you call human body as fever. Right. Now say the planet has temperature has risen by approximately 1.2 degrees C, which you can say is the planet has got fever. And जैसे हमें को शरीर को बुखार होता है, तो हम नॉर्मल अपने जो बॉडी एक्टिविटीज है उसे नहीं परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं, हम शायद काम नहीं कर पाते हैं. Our body doesn't work in the right balance, especially the balance of the earth and its natural processes has got a little shifted. That's why all these extreme weather events that you see, which is all the frequency and intensity of cyclones, floods, droughts, all of these is
may I interrupt you? When you say floods, droughts, and whatever jo bhi ho raha hai, so why? What has that got to do? Is it that because it's trapping more heat, so they are drying out faster? Then what is this whole thing? How can floods also happen and droughts also happen? So can
you? So this is this is exactly what you should understand, that as we said that our body will not perform well when we have fever, the whole balance gets disrupted. So Earth's natural systems are getting all disrupted. There is a water cycle, these things. So for example, I'll take you from Kolkata, where we live. It's a coastal city. We are very close to the Bay of Bengal. The average temperature in Bay of Bengal has increased by 1.2 degrees C. Okay. So it's 20% higher than what is on the Arabian Sea side. Okay. Now, when the all this heat is there, this creates more kind of a situation where tropical cyclones are formed in higher frequency and in more intensity. In last 2 to 3 years, Kolkata has witnessed several very high intensity cyclones with Amphan, Bulbul, all of those things, right? So this entire cycle of water vapor being rain, barish, all of these cycles are disrupted because the earth system is getting disrupted. That's why you see the rain patterns are changing. You see the amount of heat, the heat waves, all these things. All of us talk about in general language, is saal garmi kitni सो इस साल जो आप गर्मी में बोले ये कोल्डेस्ट समर है, बिकॉज अगले साल इससे भी, राइट? सो
इवन बारिश अभी कभी भी आने लग गई है, जो इंडिया में कभी कभी सिर्फ मई जून में स्टार्ट होती थी, अभी मार्च में भी हो
मॉनसून
जाए।
साइकिल में बारिश होनी चाहिए, बट बारिश कभी भी हो रही है, और जब बारिश हो रही है तो थोड़े समय में बहुत ज्यादा बारिश हो रही है, तो
हाँ,
से नुकसान हो रहा है। सबसे ज्यादा इंडिया इज एन एग्रीकल्चरल डिपेंडेंट economy, and our farmers, lot of the farmers depend on rain fed agriculture. We don't have irrigation based agriculture, large farms. Lot of our farmers have very small land holdings. All of these extreme weather events and like kind of the weather pattern which is changing is affecting them a lot, because unki fasal kharab ho jati hai. There is any other alternative source of livelihood, right?
Okay, I understood. Oh, wow, there's so much to learn. So did you learn all this over the years or even from earlier? इसके लिए पढ़ाई बहुत करनी पड़ती है कि एक इंसान का अगर से दिल is in the right space, they can do this work? What do you say?
I think curiosity से बड़ी कुछ नहीं है. अगर आज information की कोई कमी नहीं है, whatever you learn is available. If you get curious about knowing something, be it anything. Some people are curious to know what is happening in a celebrity's life. They go and Google about that, right? So I think I got curious about what is this climate crisis, what is happening here. So I, of course, learned some things which I Googled, some things because of my work. I met people, I learned from them. And it's simple. I think whatever I said is very easy to understand in terms of the science of it. Of course, there are many more layers to it, but in what we need to understand that Earth is getting fever. It's not being able to perform in the way that it should, and it is affecting all of us.
Okay, so how would you say fever को कैसे कम किया जाए?
So one of the things when what do you do first when you have fever and everything? One thing is you rest, right? You need rest, right? And you also consume less, right? You don't eat much.
Fever or something.
Body, when you give rest to the body, it starts to rebuild itself. I'll give you a very good example of it. During COVID, we heard a lot of stories about Himalayas being visible from XYZ state, air being cleaner, water being cleaner, and all of those things happening, right? Because human activities were at a certain record low, nature kind of rebuilds itself, right? So what we really need is to change how we live and consume, and stop creating that extra burden on the planet, doing for our extraction and all of the huge energy consumption. And by that, I don't mean that we need to just all of us leave everything and become yogis and we do nothing, or we start to live kind of life like poor, this sources, energy poor life. No, it's probably not required. All of the science that is available right now says that we have all the solutions to limit and mitigate some of the risk of climate crisis. But we need to take action at all levels, right? From policy level, governments have to do, and governments are doing some, but we need more to do. Companies, how they produce and consume this thing, but at the same time, consumers, how we consume and what we do. So there is
government तो अपना काम कर रही है, let's say, okay, पर ये जो रोजमर्रा जो हम लोग करते हैं, कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि plant trees, वही एक सबसे ज्यादा मैंने तो वही देखा है कि planting trees, right? What is your take on this tree planting that is going on? Really, do we really need to do it? Are we overdoing it, or is it very important? Because हम सबको बताओ कि हम trees क्यों plant करें, और उससे होता क्या है, planet का क्या उससे fever कम होगा थोड़ा बहुत?
हाँ, तो आप बताइए. So there is very simple thing. We know that we inhale air, we breathe in this thing, we consume the oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. All of us have studied in our basic science that plant, to make their food, have a process called photosynthesis, where they take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So they are kind of our trading partner. What we need is provided by them, which is oxygen, and they also take in the carbon dioxide, which we release through our breath also, but all of our activities that we do. So definitely the problem is because there is a lot of extra carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Trees can help us absorb the carbon dioxide and hold it into the soil, put it in the soil, removing the extra carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which will definitely help in this process. But there is another aspect of beyond climate, which is trees are not just for us, but it's also for a lot of other life processes to happen, whether it's a bird to build a nest, whether it is an insect to feed on it. So entire local biodiversity depends on it. And all of us, our lives kind of codepend in a natural environment. If some of these species and some of these go extinct, slowly the entire process of life on the planet will cease to exist. So all of this is important. That is one. Second, your question on what can we do? I think this is the most common question that I get as to, sir, हमें problem तो पता चल गई है, अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं? I think I have started to answer this question in a very simple way. I say that you don't have to do many things. You're doing a lot of things which you don't need to do. Start doing less of what you are doing. That having a lot of impact on the planet. Another thing. Consume a little more. If you're buying clothes, buy what you need. Start buying what you need. If you need it, definitely buy it. But don't start buying everything that you want, everything that you see on social media or some marketing this thing, and it makes you feel that this is going to make me feel happy. If you see all the commercials, they will have happy faces of people buying a product and becoming happier. But all of us have gone through this cycle of buying n number of things. Does it actually stay as happiness? Right? No. So definitely don't fall for these things. Don't fall for any kind of pressure to look a certain way in the society, to create a certain identity of all of these things make you buy certain things which you don't need, but you are made to believe that you require that. I think this alone will cut down a lot of your consumption.
I just wanted to point out, I'm thinking that you're basically addressing the point of quick fashion, right? The fast fashion. Yes. Every time there is a new outfit, new something, especially I think Zara is pretty famous for this fast fashion where they keep coming up with newer styles and people feel like, oh, it's so cliche, how can we wear the last season and current season पहनना है. So basically जितने हम कपड़े खरीदते हैं उतना वो कहीं बन रहा होता है और जब बन के वो जब बिकता नहीं है तो वो इंसान फिर फेंक देता है उसको रिसाइकल करने में और वो जो और भी रिसोर्सेज जाते हैं पर प्लस जब वो बनता है तो इतना सब बनने में भी तो बहुत सारा इंडस्ट्रीज क्रिएट होता है ऑफ कोर्स जॉब्स तो होती हैं तो हाउ डज वन I'll tell you something like sometimes when I go abroad like when I'm not in my house I generally when I travel so I shop तो मैं ये बोलती हूँ अपने को कि मैं इकोनॉमी को फ्यूल कर रही हूँ see I have put my retail therapy as like okay I'm helping the so-called country shopping so where is that balance like we are trying to help also सबकी jobs भी important है दुकानें बंद ना हो जाए हमारे वजह से so where is that balance how do you achieve that
So this is I think a $1 trillion question which I think maybe if anyone can solve this problem definitely they should be given Nobel Prize how can you find a solution between economic growth and environment sustainability? I think the thing is that then you need to boil down and ask yourself, what is important to me? Whether I am being able to breathe clean air, water, and stay healthy, or I have to live a life where it will be full of disease, it will be full of different kind of burdens, it will be a lot of crisis because see, all of these will lead to affect the quality of our lives, which money will not be able to replace because there is no clean water available to drink. Can you imagine how difficult it will be? When resources get scarce, there will be more clashes, there will be more violence, and that will make disrupt our society balance. Then there will be more heat waves, a lot of people who will die on streets because they don't have the access to the same infrastructure or convenience that we have, or some, right? So this is where we need to think of in terms of fueling the economy and this thing. See, selling cigarettes as a company is also something which companies do, and they have license for that. It's up to us to see that whether this company is doing a right thing or not, because is there. And so there are a lot of kind of discussions which can happen around this thing. But in terms of so I also mentioned that we don't need to live energy poor lives, or we don't need to stop buying everything this thing. But maybe if you really have to buy when you are doing that, ensure that you're buying something which is locally made and this thing, because how that also helps is that then it actually helps distribute the money to the local people. And you're going to travel to a certain place and you're still buying product which is imported thousands of kilometers, kahin se, then you are not really kind of helping that economy or the local economy survive. If you're eating foods which are not local, but you are imported from some part of the world, and this thing because it's exotic or something like that, you're not helping really the economy or this thing. So these can.
Sorry, I will cut you there. Okay, I understand what you're saying कि local produce and local garments खरीदना जरूरी है, क्योंकि अपने country में भी we should let other people flourish, and the local farmers and the people who make, let's say खादी बन रहा है या जो भी local silk है जो भी है. But having said that, अगर से किसी और country से जो हमारे country में नहीं मिल रहा है, वो तो बहुत सारी चीजें चाइना से आती है, बहुत सारी चीजें वैसे फ्रूट्स भी आते हैं जो हमारे कंट्री में ग्रो नहीं होते. तो भले हम हमारे कंट्री को नहीं कर रहे हैं, बट कहीं ना कहीं हम प्लैनेट को ही किसी अपने ही दुनिया में हम आई ऑलवेज फील आई एम अ सिटीजन ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. आई डोंट बिलीव कि मैं सिर्फ इंडियन सिटीजन हूँ. आई फील मुझे जैसे अब मैं जकार्ता में रहती थी, मैं इंडियन हूँ, बट मैंने वहां पे चैरिटी स्टार्ट की थी. राइट, वी स्टार्टेड इट डूइंग बिकॉज वी वांटेड टू गिव बैक टू द कंट्री. मेनी टाइम्स मुझे ये बोला जाता था, पर तुम तो इंडियन हो, ऐसे उससे क्या लेना देना. You know, I still look at myself as a human being first, then a citizen, and then trying to. So I understand where you're going, but जैसे अभी अल्फोंसो खा रहे, for that matter. Okay, let me give you a better example. अब यहाँ पे अल्फोंसो नहीं मिलता, दुबई में, जकार्ता में भी नहीं मिलता था, तो हम लोग इंडिया से जो भी इंपोर्ट करता है, तो हम अपने इंडिया को ही मदद कर रहे हैं ना कहीं ना कहीं वो खा के.
So the flip side of it is that because your Alfonso is coming from such a far place, it has to travel such a big distance. It has to be packaged in a certain way. The entire process takes so much energy is being consumed in the process that probably it is not the most sustainable decision. It's not that what I was talking about and mentioning is that how can we live lives which are more responsible, and that's some of the things we can do is that if we source more things which are locally, technically it will also be good for your health, because every place has a certain temperature, certain weather conditions and everything. And the locally grown food is kind of adapted to those local situations. And when you consume things locally, it should be more in sync with this thing. Yeah. Another example of it, what I wanted to say is that, for example, if you're wanting to have, say, fresh fruit juice, instead of buying a pack, which is a plastic bottle, this thing, which is packed maybe 4 months ago or 3 months ago, if you consume locally from a shop, which is fresh made, probably that will be better. It will help you for your health also, no processed sugar and all of those things, right? But it also will eliminate the entire supply chain of something being manufactured hundreds of kilometers away, right? So this is something I have adopted, and that's why I was sharing with this, is that I try and minimize absolutely anything which is packed and processed in terms of my what I eat, try to eat. When I'm out, if I am hungry or this thing, I will try to buy a fruit or something, not a chips packet or something. which also helps be responsible to the environment and also towards my health.
Right. True.
This is where I was trying to find ways which can be more motivation for people to have personal interest linked to the planet. Otherwise, everything becomes a little difficult to relate. How is my certain aspect helping the entire planet? It may be a little difficult to visualize this thing, but immediate things are easier. Like air pollution becomes a more immediate threat than global warming.
Right.
Because I'm consuming this thing, it's affecting my health, my lungs, my body, right? So yeah, so in that context is what I was trying to explain.
So pollution is not good for our body and pollution is not good for our planet.
Absolutely.
So of course अपने इधर एक जमाने में साइकिल बेटर होती थी, अब almost every other person is got a car, or considering public transport in many places is so bad. Like बॉम्बे में लोकल ट्रेन लेना मतलब अपना like it's मैंने कभी लिया नहीं, दो एक बार मुझे कोशिश कराया गया अंदर ढकलने की, because I wanted to experience. Just I want to tell everybody, I read your questions on YouTube, and Aditya, you have a question. Just after I finish all my questions, then you can ask, and those who are not asking directly on Zoom, I'll read the questions. I know I've seen 3-4 questions आए हैं. थोड़ा टाइम दो, हम लोग अभी तक डिस्कशन में. I hope you don't mind answering some more questions, right? ओके सो मैं ये कहना चाहती थी, जब पोल्यूशन हमको फर्क पड़ता है लाइक हमारे हेल्थ को, एंड बिसाइड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट वी कैन डू ऑब्वियसली कार पूलिंग, वो एक कर सकते हैं, वॉकिंग ज्यादा कर सकते हैं, अपनी गाड़ी को भी सर्विस करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, राइट? बिकॉज दैट ऑल दोस फ्यूम्स आल्सो अफेक्ट द. एनीथिंग एल्स वी आर मिसिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाउ टू वर्क अराउंड द पोल्यूशन एस्पेक्ट which is being increased every day? There is more pollution in India.
So one of the things, just think of this, a lot of people get up early, take out their car, go to a park which is some 10 kilometers away from their house, park their car, walk for 30 minutes, 1 hour, then again take their car, come back. By the time they are late for office, then again they get ready, then again they get stuck in traffic to reach their office, which is 20 kilometers far. And then all of the cycle continues, right?
Right.
So, and then when they are in the traffic, they complain about traffic. Is city mein traffic kitna ho gaya? Part of the problem, right? Because their car is also adding to the traffic.
Right.
If someone else is sitting outside this thing and is complaining about his car, and he is complaining about his car, and all of them together are creating the problem, right?
True.
So, can you think of solutions like lot of and it is not good, like no one enjoys being in traffic, right? It causes so much anxiety, so much of timing is being wasted. If your workplace is 10 kilometers apart, can you just simply go walking to your office instead of entire whole cycle of going in the morning 10 kilometers, then walking for 1 hour and then coming back in this thing? I'm not saying you do it, but I'm saying how we are mindlessly doing things. I'm trying to explain. A lot of these mindless actions are affecting our planet mindlessly. We're consuming mindlessly. If we start being little mindful about our actions, we will be able to eliminate certain behaviors which will be good for us and also for the planet.
Right.
Fast fashion, a lot of this thing, outfitted and thing, people don't wear it twice also. On an average now, some of these things are being bought, and this thing is for around 5 to 6 times is what people wear, and then it goes to the landfill. All of this has an impact on the planet, and it is not good for you also. For consuming more, you need to work more so that you have more money, and then you again have to this is a whole cycle. So just what I'm trying to say is that be a little mindful, and you will see how it also improves the quality of your life.
Right. So what about greenhouse gases and greenhouse emission? थोड़ा उस पे आप बताएंगे उसको कैसे कम करना है, वो होता क्या है?
So greenhouse gases के बारे में हमने discuss किया, how carbon dioxide is a greenhouse.
That is called greenhouse
gas, and that greenhouse gases because they absorb the heat, and this is what creates the greenhouse effect, because of which there is global warming happening.
Okay. And also deforestation जो आप बोल रहे थे करके जानवरों का, that is when forest को काटा जाता है, कभी golf course में create किया जाता है, even for palm oil I think they do a lot of deforestation. So do you know anything about palm oil? Do you recommend people use that? Because when I was working in the restaurant business, I don't know, somehow I came across कि palm oil बहुत although cheap होता है, it's not, because we were opening an eco-friendly restaurant. So we were trying to have, tissues eco-friendly. हमने केले के पत्ते में सर्व किया खाना. हमने बहुत कोशिश की कि सब कुछ जितना हो सके इको-फ्रेंडली करे. तो मैंने वो पाम ऑयल खरीदना बंद कर दिया था. तो is that correct? पाम ऑयल की वजह से भी डिफॉरेस्टेशन बहुत होता है, right?
Yeah, so there are a lot of resources जिसके वजह से kind of deforestation is responsible. One of them is definitely growing food. Then
growing food as in means पेड़ को काट के farming करना.
Of course, हमारे farmlands क्या है? कभी तो करते थे, ना? So that is what is being turned into farmlands. Of course, most
those are important things to do, right? I mean,
we can talk about that also. So even if you must have gone across a lot of movements which talk about eat vegan food and how it is going to help the planet, right? Because there's a lot of studies which show how a lot of this deforestation actually happened because to grow animal fodder than what is human consuming, and this animal are then grown in this thing, and then they are being sold in the meat industry, the dairy industry. So it's all related, and this is resulting in deforestation. So the point is that everything that we consume in terms of food is a very big reason for deforestation, whether it is meat and this thing. And that's where healthy food choices or choosing certain diet has a better or less adverse effect in the planet. Because if we start consuming less of dairy, less of meat and this thing, it will result in less pressure on the planet in terms of resources, because there are comparisons as to how much, what is the footprint climate of a certain type of food on the planet, right? So, and there are also, of course, health reasons for that. So that's where this processed food and all of those things that we were discussing, taking certain choices will not only have a positive impact on your health, but also on the planet.
Okay, so I agree with certain parts of what you said. So let's say कि हम cattle को raise कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए हम deforest करके वो एक farm land बनता है. चलो, let's say that is point. But Indians को पनीर, घी, दूध से इतना प्यार है, तो अगर से इसको मीट भी नहीं खाते हैं, पर कैटल की वजह से ये आता है. फिर लोग जो प्रोटीन चाहते हैं, लेट्स से एग खाते हैं, चलो चिकन नहीं भी खाते, आपको एग चाहिए, राइट? तो वो वहां पे भी फंस जाते हो क्योंकि तुमको वो भी करना है. अगर से तुम शीप को रेस करते हो क्योंकि तुम्हें वुल चाहिए होता है. सो इट्स सो कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, राइट? कि कहाँ पे वीगन पूरी तरह से होना, बिल्कुल डेयरी नहीं खाना, लेदर नहीं पहनना, वो एक मेरे हिसाब से लाइक एक एक्सट्रीम माइंडसेट हुआ, राइट? क्योंकि वो फिर तो हनी भी नहीं खाते वीगन्स, राइट? तो वो एक अलग जगह हो. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट फॉर द कॉमन मैन जो इतना नहीं कर सकता कि मैं ये नहीं खाऊंगा, मैं वो नहीं खाऊंगा, जो उनके पास है उनको करना पड़ता है. तो व्हाट डू यू से फॉर दैट? एक्चुअली देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन YouTube रिगार्डिंग दिस ओनली कि आपको वीगन बनना है, पर किसी ने बोला करके सुना है देयर इज अ डिबेट दैट हाउ नॉनवेज इज अ मेजर कंट्रीब्यूटर टू ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, एंड व्हाट्स योर टेक? सो दिस इज योर टेक ऑन इट, राइट?
So I would also say that I am not a vegan person. It's not I don't believe that being a vegan will have better impact on the planet than this thing. But my personal take is that, and which is partly related to this, is a few of us doing a lot will still have a small impact, but a lot of us doing smaller steps will have a larger impact. So I have my own ways of doing things. I'm not 100% this thing. It's not that my activities, I don't create any waste or I don't buy anything. My activities don't release any carbon dioxide in the planet. It's not that I never travel in an airplane. I do when I have to. I eat this thing, but of course, I try to cut down as much as I can whenever I have to this thing. It's not that I'm daily going to eat dairy. I'm not eating meat for sure. I'm not like whenever I have a option to travel by train, this thing which can I will do that rather than taking an flight whenever. So all of these options is where I'm saying is that you don't have to 100% become a vegan or this thing, but you can opt a certain diet which is good for the planet. This thing maybe once a week stop it, twice a week stop it, or have one meal which is non-dairy. This things, anything that is going to make this thing, all of these when done in large numbers will have a positive impact on the planet. So wherever you are, whatever you are, do at least start this process. And as you start doing that, if you think that you can be completely vegan, if you think you want to be, you be that.
True.
Saying that you become 100% restricted on a certain aspect or block yourself into it, but at least start somewhere. Is consume less energy in whatever ways you can. That will have a very, very big impact on your personal carbon footprint.
Okay, so you mean जब हम लाइट फैन ऑफ करते हैं, पानी कम यूज करते हैं, कुछ लोग पता नहीं शावर आधा घंटे के लिए करते हैं, करेक्ट? बहुत गलत बात करते हो. एक आध बार बाथटब में बैठना, एक आध बार शावर थोड़ा लेट, लाइक लॉन्ग लेंथी शावर लेना अलग बात है. पर आप लोग जो बहुत देर तक बाथरूम में फंसे पड़े रहते हो ना, दैट्स वेरी बैड. यू आर वेस्टिंग अ लॉट ऑफ वाटर. आप लोगों ने एड्स भी देखी होगी करके, जब ब्रश करते हो डोंट लेट द वाटर फ्लो, जब आप बर्तन भी घसते हो वाटर को फ्लो करने नहीं देते. तो ये मेरे लाइक इवन माय चाइल्ड इज टॉट दैट. आई सेड लाइट ऑफ रखो, जरूरी नहीं है, अगर से एसी की जरूरत नहीं है. एसी से भी काफी पोल्यूशन होता है, राइट? ओजोन लेयर पे उस पर भी फर्क पड़ता है, राइट? पर इधर इतना गर्मी है दुबई में कि एसी के बिना सोच ही नहीं सकते. 40-50 डिग्रीज तक जाता है. तो मोस्ट जो विंटर्स होते हैं, जैसे अभी मेरे रूम में फैन भी ऑन नहीं है बिकॉज द वेदर इज सो प्लेजेंट हियर. सो बिसाइड्स लाइट स्विचेस ऑफ, लाइट ऑफ रखना, एसी कम यूज करना, आप जैसे कह रहे थे ट्राई टू वॉक इफ पॉसिबल, स्पेशली इफ इट्स गुड वेदर. और क्या कर सकते हैं आप? प्लांट अ ट्री विच यूज.
So one is definitely reduce your consumption in ways that you can, whatever is easy for you. If you think that you can live without a certain device in your home, which you can avoid using completely, avoid that. If you think that you cannot avoid this device, look for a more energy efficient version of it. There's so much new technology coming in. For example, there in terms of fans in India, right now, there's a technology which is called BLDC, which is brushless DC motor. अभी नए fans जितने भी आप advertisement देखोगे वो उस fans के होते हैं. So some of the fans that you are using right now is about 70 watt in power, and this is about 28-30 watt. So it will consume less than half the energy that you are consuming otherwise for this fan. So similarly, there are, when you are buying any appliance and anything which you have to buy, which you definitely require this thing, you can choose to opt for an energy efficient version of it so that you still consume less energy. And then you can adopt a little bit of your behavior to see if you can still further reduce your way of exploitation or consuming, because anything that you will do will have impact on the planet. Every unit of electricity is thing. If not, if you have good resources and everything, can you switch to renewable based energy to offset some of the impact that you are doing for this thing? So if there is space on your rooftop, can you install a small rainwater harvesting systems and install some solar panels that will have positive impact on this thing? And of course, if you have ways that you have resources You can contribute to a charity who is doing plantation to help them plant trees, or take an initiative to plant trees, do it as a fun project, take it up, find any patch of land, uh, get in some community people, go and plant some trees. All of it is very healthy activity, very good for you, good for the planet. So at least plant a few trees, nurture it, touch the soil. All of these activities will make you feel good. It will definitely have a positive impact.
So even for my friends' birthdays or someone's death anniversary, yeah, puja karwani ho, so what I do is I plant trees in India. So I have this person on my WhatsApp, and there are these trees where you can, even in somebody's memory, you can have that board, right? And it's such a beautiful gesture. So they live in their memories and there, and it's a tree planted for them. And even for birthdays and all, लोग जो कोई ये नहीं कहता कि birthday party मत करो. हम लोगों को सपोर्ट भी करते हैं जब हम केक खरीदते हैं करते हैं, पर गरीबों को खाना खिलाओ, इट विल हेल्प, यू नो, उन वो भी खुश होंगे, आपको दुआएं मिलेंगी. और जैसे इन्होंने कहा, कुछ कम चीजें अगर से दिन में आप यूज कर सकते हो, गैजेट्स हो या लाइट हो, या कम कपड़े खरीदो, कार लेस यूज करो, और कुछ टिप्स हम भूल रहे हैं कि आई थिंक वी हैव कवर्ड मोस्ट ऑफ द टिप्स.
नहीं, सो ऐसे लिस्ट करते जाए तो बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं, बट मैं जो कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि डेवलप अ माइंडसेट फॉर योरसेल्फ, देन यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई हाउ यू दिस थिंग. जस्ट सिट वन डे and see how your life is throughout the day, and you will realize some of the things is what you do is totally mindless. You don't require to do it. See what you can eliminate from your life right now. See, okay, once you do some of those things, you will see already you are having a positive impact, and it will also improve the quality of your life, right? Then look further as to what you can replace. How can you go for more energy efficient things or better things that you can do, which can improve your life. For example, someone is working in a particular city and is staying in a rented place or something, and his workplace is say 50 kilometers from his this thing. He's every day traveling for 2.5 hours one side, every 3 hours, 4 hours, he's traveling in traffic every day. Is it a sensible decision for a person to find a home near his work? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just giving a very blunt example of this thing.
Yeah.
That will improve the quality of his life, and also reduce the unnecessary amount of emission that is happening because of this thing. You will be one car less during the peak traffic, right? So there are so many such ways, this thing. Sometimes we just have the lights on, maybe 4 lights on, but if you just switch off 2 of them, you will still have enough light for you to do all your activities, right? But you don't know. Your habit is you walk into the room, you click, all the lights are on, right? You're not thinking about it. So this is there. Now the interiors, if you see the homes and everything, there are so many lights in one particular room, right? All of those lights look great. Maybe you put it on once in a while when it looks good, but on daily basis, do you need all of those lights to be on every time that you are there using the room? Maybe not. Can you consume that way less? And I can go on and on with these kind of this thing, but it is good that I don't want to dictate what you should be doing, but find out what is your comfort zone. Is eating a certain diet going to help you? Is fashion easier option for you? Is lifestyle, or in terms of how you live, energy consumption or travel, going to be easier for you? Whatever you choose will definitely have this thing. But you choose at least 1 or 2 areas to start with and do something, because it is very, very high time. The effect of the crisis is so real, it is so severe that it will affect us. See, and if not for yourself, if people who have kids and everything, they should think that the best you can live for the future generation is just clean air and clean water. They're efficient enough to be able to do this thing, earn and create this thing. But if you don't have that basic available to them, it will be a big, big disaster for all of us, right? So it's very, very important that you realize that this is a big, big crisis and you have to act. When COVID happened, you followed a certain rule to save yourself and to contribute to this thing. It is similar crisis of that nature. It's just that we have not realized the intensity of it. If we had done, we would be acting in a way we do in a crisis, but we are not. So, but being someone who has access to information, has a certain level of consciousness, you should be performing certain actions which will have a positive impact on the planet.
So वो जो सदगुरु जी बात करते हैं about save the soil, is it also part of your program, or in this climate thing the save the soil thing doesn't come up?
Absolutely. Any of these campaigns that you see, all of those are kind of puzzles that fit into the same larger picture, right? When he's talking about Save Soil campaign, he's talking about ensuring we have food security because of deforestation, all of those things. The top layer of the soil or the current agricultural practices, the top layer of the soil, which is the most fertile, where all the soil, food is grown, is getting either washed away or this thing. And this is leading to desertification. A large patches of Indian land and across the world has become deserted. So this, because of the desertification, now nothing is growing there. It is not fertile enough that you can grow something there. Now, this is going to be a very serious food crisis in coming years for us. Also, when the rain falls on these kind of land surface area, it takes away the soil and there is very little water which is going under the ground. So all of this water is again getting washed away. It's going into the oceans, this thing, right? So all of these things are completely related. All of this campaign. If you look at the messaging of Safe Soil campaign, everything as to what you can do sitting in cities and everything.
Yeah. Would you please point out what can we do, like just in case somebody doesn't know about Save the Soil campaign, or when it first and foremost, matlab, over the top they are planting on that soil. That's why the soil is getting bad. That is the root problem, right?
No, it is that the soil, the current, the way we are doing agriculture, the amount of chemicals that is being used in this thing, it's leading to the destruction of the soil quality, and it is also leading to a lot of desertification, which is why he says save soil, because if we don't save the soil, there is no life that will exist, as he says, right? So all of our actions as to what and how much we consume, if we change a certain amount of this thing, it will also lead to a farmers growing certain thing, right? So for example, this year is being promoted as the year of millets, this thing. So millets, as they say, can be very good kind of food, which is good for our health, but also can be grown quite easily, and it is very resistant crop, which will create more resilience for our farmers. So if we have to create that demand for millets, we have to start eating more millets. Similarly, so all of our choices that we were talking about will have a certain impact on this things. For example, if you stop consuming packaged water completely, this thing, it will create less demand for industries to make packaged drinking water, right? So this is what is as simple as the thing. If anything that you buy is kind of a vote as a consumer, and it will have an impact on them.
Okay, so also using less fertilizer and all
of these things, which is also happening. A lot of NGOs, governments, everyone is working towards helping the farmers transition into alternative agricultural practices, but we have to support that. We also have to start consuming certain things which are seasonal, which are local. These things. So that way is one way we can support the entire movement.
Okay. Do you mind taking a couple of questions from the viewers?
Yes.
So Advitya, you had a question. You can unmute yourself and please ask the question.
Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
So first of all, good evening, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, sir. And मेरा question is simple. सर मैं 1 साल से खुद से मेरा इंटरेस्ट है, मैं क्लाइमेट चेंज बारे में पढ़ता रहता हूँ कि ऑल पर्सनल एक्शंस क्या लेने चाहिए, और हमें एज ए कम्युनिटी लेवल पे क्या लेने चाहिए, जैसे सीमेंट कितना बड़ा करता है, एग्रीकल्चर में क्या कर सकते हैं जैसे पर्मा कल्चर वगैरह। तो मेरा क्वेश्चन सीधा सा सर ये है कि हम देखते हैं कि जो ओलिगार्क्स है ना, वो सबसे ज्यादा एमिशंस करते हैं, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का हो गया या ग्रीन हाउस कोई भी हो गया। सो एज एन एशियन, जैसे कि हम एक कॉमन एशियन है, हमारा कार्बन फुटप्रिंट सबसे कम होता है और उन लोगों का सबसे ज्यादा होता है। तो उन लोगों पर तो पॉलिसीज बनाकर थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल लाना चाहिए, बट इज इट नेसेसरी कि हम अपने एक्शंस पर ज्यादा ध्यान दें और वो लोग कुछ भी ना करें, क्योंकि सबसे ज्यादा तो फर्क उन्हीं के एक्शन से आ रहा है। जैसे कि उनके प्राइवेट जेट्स होते हैं, उनके जो प्राइवेट क्रूजेज होते हैं, उनसे तो बहुत ज्यादा एमिशंस होते हैं। सो व्हाट्स योर टेक ऑन इट?
नहीं, आपकी बात सही है। आपने ये एक डिबेट है जो काफी समय से चल रही है कि वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड ने जब उनको ग्रोथ करना था, उन्होंने पूरा कार्बन जो बजट है उसको एक्सप्लॉइट कर दिया। और आज हम जो डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमीज है, हमारे ग्रोथ का समय है, तो वो बोल रहे हैं कि आप एमिशंस कम करो, ये करो, वो करो, दिस थिंग्स। हमारा जो आपने कहा कि एशिया में कार्बन फुटप्रिंट जो है कम है। हाँ, हमारा एवरेज कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कम है, पर यहाँ भी हमारे यहाँ भी कुछ लोग हैं जिनके एवरेज फुटप्रिंट्स सेम एज वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड है नाउ। सो इसमें यही मैसेज पहले तो ये है कि हमें गलतियों से सीखना चाहिए, एंड वी शुड नॉट गो द सेम वे, should not try to ape the waste as they say, and try to live more in sync with nature, because that's our culture and that's our this thing. There are so many practices that if you look into our traditional systems, you will find they are so much in sync with nature, and that is one. Second is definitely जो आप बोल रहे हो वो एक ग्लोबल डिबेट है, और उस पे ही बात चल रही है कि आज जो वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड है उनको एक बड़ा सा एक फंड बनाना चाहिए जो इस ट्रांजिशन को हेल्प करे। जो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज हैं उनको अगर लो कार्बन ग्रोथ करना है तो उसके लिए और पैसे चाहिएंगे, जिससे हम जो हमारी एनर्जी रिक्वायरमेंट है उसको मीट करने के लिए वी गो टू रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी, वी adopt certain practices, certain new technologies which are better for the planet. So for that funds are required, which should come from Western world who have higher carbon footprint, or they have traditionally exploited more resources, and which is one of the major cause of this problem. So yes, that is there. But having said all of these things, right now we are in a phase that it is a very, very serious crisis, and we can keep pointing fingers at each other, but at the same time we all need to work together. And because it's not a problem which will affect individually. If India as a country does extremely well, which a lot of our policies and things show that we are doing a lot in terms of what we have promised to do globally or committed to do in terms of this thing. But we also know that we have to do more, because it's our people who are most vulnerable and who are getting more affected these things. If certain other countries continue to exploit this thing, it will still have an adverse impact on our people and people who are most vulnerable. So it's in the best interest of humanity that all of us work. So that's, I think, what is the larger picture is what we need to see this thing. And of course, taking into account what has happened in the past, and there should be accountability for that as well.
I just might add a point, like जैसे इन्होंने private jet की बात की है. There are so many sometimes when the celebrities do take it, the good part is social media just does bring it up कि hey, this is how you're adding, you're creating more problem on this planet by taking private jets and all. So एक अच्छी बात है social media की कि they don't really get away with these things, even though ज़्यादा I think हमारे सेलिब्रिटीज भी करते होंगे, पर ज्यादा वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में होता है, करेक्ट? सो दैट्स अ गुड थिंग विद सोशल मीडिया.
If you see a lot of movements in Europe and everything, people now start judge other people if they are traveling, taking more flights, frequent flights and everything. So sustainability is becoming very conscious among, especially in the young people. And this thing, a lot of, if I'm not wrong, I was reading this thing, a lot of the short distance flights have been discontinued in parts of Europe, and a lot of people take train if it's possible. So all of this is happening as well globally. And like, of course, things are very bad, but it's not that nothing is happening. There are a lot of things which are happening. Sustainability has become really a buzzword, and there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of these things, especially young people are very interested in this topic. And I think it's a great opportunity as well for people to build careers, to look at how they can adopt their lifestyle into this. So it's look at it as a positive opportunity also. It's not all like doomsday kind of thing. Of course, things are serious at that level also, but we need to keep finding a little bit of hope and work is what is it.
Aryan, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, sir. Aryan. So actually, as we were talking about vehicular emissions, I wanted to ask is, in the current era where the world is trying to reduce their carbon footprint in vehicles by, switching the gasoline powered vehicles with electric vehicles. But in that, the electricity that is used to, charge these vehicles, it still like in the ways that it's produced, those methods still have a dire consequence upon the environment. And I think that really eradicates the whole thing where, we are replacing gasoline powered vehicles with electric vehicles. In a way, gasoline powered vehicles are more efficient, as like there have been many surveys where they've like calculated, the pros and cons, and also like there's synthetic gasoline and a lot of things like that. So what are your views upon that?
So yes, Aryan, so if you were listening in, we talked about one thing is that we shouldn't do things mindlessly, and we should be more mindful about all of our actions, this thing. So if suppose someone has to buy a car, there's no option for that. Suppose someone is a doctor by profession and they need a car, this thing for whatever work they are doing, or for whatever reasons, then need to have a car. Someone has an elderly citizen there, they can't depend on Uber and Ola and all these things. Now, if you look at electric vehicle versus oil and this thing, there are several studies and there are so many links to that. Of course, there is a relation, if you see, between the use of oil and electricity. Now, all of this electricity for charging right now maybe also be coming from thermal power plant, and still coal is being used and there is emissions happening. But it's like a chicken and egg problem. There is a lot of this thing happening where there is expected that a lot of this power consumption will move towards solar. So then maybe your charging station will actually be powered from solar. That may happen in the future. That is one. But also there is a lot of market-based things which are driving this, is in my opinion, because India doesn't have all of this oil. It is all imported, right? So it also has an impact on our economy in terms of the oil that this thing, and oil reserves are depleting. It's not that unlimited oil is available. So this is also, in my opinion, an industry thing which is taking an opportunity in terms of this sustainability entire thing, is to ride on this and show that electric power is good for electric vehicle is good for the environment. But as we discussed, if we are doing it mindlessly, it is not, because still it will not reduce the amount of cars. It will, to make that entire vehicle, still there will be a lot of energy consumption. So first choice is, if you can avoid a car, avoid it. If you can depend on public transport, these things. If you still have to have a car, how you use it is something you can work on. So that is what I've been trying to say throughout this discussion, is that find what you can really avoid and how can you cut down certain behaviors in this thing. But if you have to do some things, can you find the most less harmful way of doing it, this thing. So change a little bit of behaviors, adopt new technologies which are going to help. All of these things will help you make an informed choice, and it will have a better impact.
Sir, I just actually want to talk about this new technology that has come. As you said that, gasoline reserves are depleting. But now there have been methods where, like, new methods have been discovered where gasoline can actually be produced out of thin air, literally. So what happens here is the combustive portion of the gasoline. What it is the hydrocarbons. It's the same molecules that are actually present in the air and in the water. So there are obviously certain processes to that, and in that what they do is they extract the oxygen and the hydrogen molecules from the air, and then they turn them into hydrocarbons, and then that is used actually as fuels. Porsche has made many, and it's like it is it's no different from our normal cars. You can like take that fuel and just add to any of your old cars. There's no change required, nothing. Porsche has also, released many many cars showing that fuel, like just running around with those. And it's actually something that is coming up really fast, and it's an idea that can be used by any country, anywhere.
Yeah, so there are so many new technologies which are there. Some of them are in pipeline, some of them already exist, some of them are being built in commercial scale, and this thing, some are good, some are still debatable. So there's a lot of things that exist. There is hydrogen based fuel which is being explored in India. There is an hydrogen based car which is being used. The Honorable Minister of Transport actually traveled in a hydrogen based car. In this thing, electric cars, we are hearing about this, but it is existing for decades now. It's not a new technology. So all of these technologies have been existing there. A lot of this is there. In the city that I am there are trams being used still now, and a lot of the world now, a lot of new cities are introducing trams because it's a better sustainable mode of transport. So there is a lot of things, a lot of work that is happening. There is new technology being developed every day. There are many things happening as we discussed. So definitely all of those things have potential, but at the same time, we have very limited time window. All of these things cannot be changed overnight. All of the vehicle, petrol, diesel vehicles can not be converted to all of this over time. But so through this transition phase, we have to become more mindful of our actions so that this can immediately, without any big effort, reduce the impact on the planet at an individual level, while we as communities, societies, leaders, governments, all of us work on designing systems which are more better, that makes life more comfortable for all of us, and then also the impact on the planet, right?
Aryan, whatever you were talking about, I just send me a link later because I didn't really understand what you're saying. And of course, Ajay has been here for quite some time.
I'll send you a video.
I don't want to take so much of his time also. But like I did my own bit. We just bought a hybrid car, right? Because we just felt, I did some research on it. It's more green and more eco-friendly compared to a regular car because it has greater fuel efficiency and reduced CO2 emissions. So I've done my bit, and I understand कि हम कार तो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि नहीं लेंगे, कार चाहिए होती है. दुबई जैसे जगह में तो सोच भी नहीं सकते, इतने दूर डिस्टेंसेस होते हैं, बच्चे को ड्रॉप करना होता है. So I did my thing and I did. So I hope, as you're saying, इसको टाइम लगेगा. ये जो एफिशिएंसी आएगी, चाहे फ्यूल से आए, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से आए, कुछ फुल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वाले, जैसे हमने हमारे स्टाफ के लिए जो स्कूटर लिए हैं वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से चार्ज होती है rather than पेट्रोल डाल के. So we are also trying our bit. So thank you so much, Ajay, for doing this. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure there's a lot which is going to come. Tell us, what is your next plan for your career and for India? What are you doing? What project are you working for before you leave?
So currently, a lot of my focus is on definitely working on afforestation projects. Last year, we did a afforestation project of 2 million mangroves in Sundarbans. This year, we are doing a lot of fruit tree plantation with farmers. So a lot of projects are going on. I'm also working on something called circular economy to build some projects. The circular economy concept is that current method is we take something, we consume something, and it goes to the landfill. Now there are better design processes where, say, something is being used as a new material is extracted. How can we use that? Then it again stays in the economy where it is reused, repaired, or it is changed into something other. And finally, when it is the life cycle of the product is used, how can we extract the material and build something again out of it, so that we reduce the demand for new materials and also do not have a concept of waste, which is this thing. So these are two areas where I am developing most interest in, and I'm trying to do more projects in. I'm doing a project in Kolkata on circular economy and forestation projects in South India. And of course, climate change being these things, I'm working with a lot of people on something low carbon lifestyle. So we go on doing sessions and design projects and everything, this thing. In fact, Indian government has launched something which is called Mission Life, which is lifestyle for environment, where they are saying the whole world should adopt a certain lifestyle. So Prime Minister Modi has launched this mission, which is gaining momentum, and it was very much exactly what we were talking all through this discussion. We can make certain lifestyle changes which will have very good impact on the planet. And also what one of the question people said, that Western world need to change this thing or not. So that is also maybe an answer to that also, is that all of us need to change our lifestyles to become more responsible towards the planet. So I hope everyone who listens to this finds a little bit of awareness on this issue. If that one thing, it's all of us are going to be affected by this, and our future generations will be most affected by this. And if we have to improve the quality of our lives, we can start living a little more mindful lives, which will improve the quality of our lives immediately also, and also for our future.
Right. You were saying something that there is a link if people want to donate. Do share your link, I'll post it. And of course, I'll try to also add my little amount to the donation.
We can share the Earth Day Network, earthday.org's link, where we have a canopy project, which we planted millions of trees across the world, and a person can contribute less than $1 to plant a tree. So anyone can go on to our website, earthday.org, and they can pledge to plant trees.
Okay. Thank you so much. Really much.
Earth Day is April 22nd. To all of you, April 22nd is round the corner. Do take up certain initiatives to learn more about the environment, do something, do a cleanup drive, do a plantation drive, anything that try to live more in sync with nature.
True. Thank you so much. Really had a wonderful time. Pata hi nahi chala, sir. Could we contact you further? You would like to contact? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yes. Aryan, you can do that. Thank you, Ajay, for doing this. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Okay, people. मैं सोच रही हूँ करके थोड़ा session continue करूँ, break लेके. I'm coming back. And let's do a hi hello session. काफी time से मैं online नहीं आई हूँ. So give me 5 minutes to take a breather, and I shall be back. I'll start the Zoom session again. And a new. बोलिए Aryan.
I was gonna say keep the Zoom on. We'll hang out.
No, I will just let me end this, because then it becomes 2 different sessions. It's better to have the Q&A and the podcast so people can watch whatever they want. Okay? So I'm going to end this, but I'll restart in 5 minutes. Okay?
Yeah.